Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 49 of Wild and Wacky Chit Chats with the Twins. I'm Krista. I'm on here by myself today. It's kind of been a little bit hectic in this week, so I'm coming on here today to talk to you guys about what lies beneath perfectionism. So, who out there would call themselves a perfectionist? And I've always known that I was a perfectionist, and I've never actually stopped to wonder what that even means, or like what truly lies beneath it. And Kara and I have this private group, which a lot of you are in and are part of, called La Resistance, where we take a tool from Access Consciousness and we take a question basically, which is like a tool, and we say it 30 times a day for 30 days. And what it does is it takes up all these points of views that we have around this specific topic, and it starts to just shed these layers and bring this awareness to our world of where we've been functioning from, the points of views that we've been functioning from, and the beliefs that we've had that maybe are ours, maybe they're not. And so the question that we just finished, 30 days of, if I was being vulnerable with me today, what would I choose? And it's interesting because vulnerability is seen as something that is a weakness. That's something that this reality, this society looks at vulnerability is as a weakness. And what I found is that it's actually the complete opposite. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to be vulnerable, because being vulnerable is being like an open wound. And like this, if you imagine you have this wound, being vulnerable is the ability to receive everything with this open wound, like to be willing to receive criticisms, judgments, other people's opinions about you with no point of view, being able to like put your barriers down, put your walls down. So all these things that you use to protect yourself, these walls you put around yourself to protect yourself, being vulnerable is putting those down and inviting everything into your world with no point of view, and letting the world truly see who you are. And that, my friends, takes a lot of courage, and that is something I've never been willing to do before, and something that that's come to my awareness over the last probably couple of years is that I have functioned most of my life by just trying to fit in, trying to please other people, trying to look like and be the person that I think other people want me to be, all the while cutting off pieces and parts of myself in the process of it, until I really started to feel like something was missing from my world. Something just like I kept trying to look for outside sources to make me happy, and nothing would fix it. Like retail therapy didn't work. I took all sorts of like self-help classes. I tried to fix myself, like what's wrong with me. And what I really discovered is what was missing in my life was me. And that takes a whole shit ton of vulnerability to put your barriers down and let people see who you truly are. And most of us aren't willing to do that. And so yesterday I listened to Brene Brown, and she was talking about vulnerability. She is an American professor and researcher and author, and she talks about vulnerability and perfectionism. And it just opened me up to a whole new world of awareness around perfectionism and vulnerability, and the whole need to be right and never be wrong. So she says something about perfectionism that totally stopped me in my tracks. She said, when perfectionism is driving, shame is always riding shotgun, and fear is the annoying backseat driver. So anything this brings up will you destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Hey, Kara. So that really crazy sounding thing I just said is the clearing statement from Access Consciousness, and you can look it up at theclearingstatement.com. It's basically like this magical wand that when we bring up all these points of views and beliefs and stuff that we've been functioning from, the clearing statement is like this magical wand that just poof gets rid of it so that we can make new choices. So I want to say that again. When perfectionism is driving, shame is always riding shotgun. Fear is the annoying backseat driver. And we struggle with perfectionism in areas where we feel most vulnerable to shame. So what is shame? Shame is I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not lovable enough. I'm not enough. Good morning, Mom. And so we feel comfortable saying I'm a little bit perfectionistic, which is code for, yeah, I do things really well. But I'm not comfortable saying I have shame. So that really opened my eyes. And there's a question that Crystal Crawford, who's an Access Consciousness facilitator, said to me about a year ago. She obviously could see that I was functioning from perfectionism and the need to be right and the need to never be wrong and the need to just to pretend that I know stuff even when I don't, because I don't want to prove that I'm wrong. And she said, what energy, space, and consciousness can me and my body be? To be the stupid girl I truly be for all eternity. And anything that brings up times a gazillion, I now destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, walk, all name, shorts, boys and beyonds. And I'll tell you what, my barriers went up when she said that. I'm like, I can't let people see the stuff I don't know. I don't want to be a stupid girl. And really what it was just being an allowance of who you are and being willing to receive other people's judgments, other people's opinions, and that it's okay. We don't know everything. We don't have to know everything. And instead of just allowing ourselves to be and allowing people to see who we are and being vulnerable, we don't want them to see that about us. We don't want them to know that we don't know things. And so we don't let ourselves be teachable when we could learn all these awesome things. We could gain so much awareness. We don't let that be because we put up these walls so that we don't look stupid in front of other people. Hey, Laverne. I was like, yeah, that's real. And so I started saying that question 30 times a day for 30 days. And it changed my whole world at work. I'm a registered nurse. And so, you feel like you should know everything. But in rural nursing, we see little bits of everything. We're how does the saying go? I can't remember how it goes, jack of all trades, master of none, something like that. And it's was really tough for me because I'm well, I feel like I should know everything. And so you don't want to admit when you don't know anything, but you have to. When you're a nurse and you're in a rural area and you don't know something, you can't pretend you don't know. You can't fake it till you make it. You have to get help. You have to be willing to ask for help. And being a perfectionist, the perfectionist in me, it was tough to ask for help. So it was the beginning of this practice of a new way of being. So she explains perfectionism as the 20-pound shield. It's a way of thinking that says this: if I look perfect, live perfect, work perfect, I can avoid or minimize criticism, blame, and ridicule. If I look perfect, live perfect, work perfect, I can avoid or minimize criticism, blame, and ridicule. So anything this is bringing up and letting down, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, walk, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. All perfectionism is the 20-pound shield we carry around, hoping that it will keep us from being hurt. When in truth, what it does is it keeps us from being seen. So like I said, we cut off these parts of ourselves so that people can't see us, so that we don't have to look stupid, so that we don't have to be wrong. And so when we're trying not to be wrong, we're always trying to prove that we're right. So anything this brings up, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, pop, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And it's not that like being perfectionism. Like there's it's not wrong. Like there's good stuff that comes out of it. Like for me, like just a quick little example is like I'm not the tidiest person. I'm gonna admit that to you guys, and I really never was growing up as a kid. I was the kid with the dirty room, and I live in organized chaos. I can, like my kitchen, for example, I know where everything is. It's not the prettiest, but it works for me. And so when I have like company coming over, the perfectionist in me is like, well, I don't want people to see who I truly am and how I truly live. So I'm going to clean my house and I'm going to put everything away. I'm going to shove pretty well everything in my bedroom till everybody goes, and then I'll bring it back out because I don't want people to see that I function this way. Like so I mean, while it's actually kind of sad, it's also a way for me to clean my house. It motivates me. But there's this thing called striving versus perfectionism that she talks about. And striving is, I want to be the best that I can be, where I'm choosing. I want to be the best that I can be because it's my choice. Whereas perfectionism is more, I'm worried what other people are going to think of me. So we're making our choices. We're making all of our choices based on what other people are going to think of us, not on what I want. And I was just like, holy crap. Like, wow, that is where I've truly been functioning from. And it's changed in my world tremendously over the last couple of years, where I've really started using the tools of Access Consciousness, and I've started playing with vulnerability and practicing, like just choosing what I want to choose because it feels light in my world, like following that magical energy trail, like following my path of lightness, as opposed to choosing what in the past, what I always did was just choosing what I thought other people wanted me to be, who I should be, the daughter I should be, the mother I should be, the friend I should be, the way I should fit into this world, into the mediocrity of this reality. But that just wasn't working anymore. It just didn't feel light in my world. And so this vulnerability was where I needed to lean in. It's what felt the most uncomfortable, but it's where I knew I needed to lean in. I can relate to you too, Maddie. Hey, guilty. So she talks about her counselor saying what it means to be free of all of this. When you're free, you belong nowhere. And for her, that she's a researcher, and she had tons of research that she had backed up that in the absence of love and belonging, there is always suffering. So when she heard that when you're free, you belong nowhere, just like was a real head scratcher for her. And she couldn't understand it, because you think of belonging, you think of belonging to your family, like your posse, your people, But in truth, you really don't belong to anything or anyone. You belong to you. There is you. And so true belonging, she says, is a spiritual practice. And it's about the ability to find sacredness in both being a part of something, but also having the courage to stand alone. So anything that brings up and lets down, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And for those of us who struggle to have the courage to stand alone, especially when we know that we're risking that sense of being a part of something because we disagree, because we have a different opinion, because we love something different, that's the mark of true belonging, is to be able to say, yes, I'm a part of something bigger, but I will also stand alone when I need to. So you belong everywhere, and you belong nowhere. So anything this is bringing up or letting down, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And it just really makes me wanna cry, wanna weep. I'm really vulnerable right now because I just got off nights and I have only had about, I don't know, not very many hours of sleep in the last couple of days. And so this really brings up a lot for me, and it makes me just want to cry because I see where I have functioned from, and I see where people function from. Like, we're all trying to be this person for someone else, for everyone else, and it's at the expense of ourselves. We chop off little pieces of ourselves to fit in to this reality, to fit into this society. We lose ourselves in it. And that's such a tragedy. Like, and that's why I'm here and why I show up and why Kara and I show up, because we see that there is another way. And I just want everyone to see that that you can make a different choice. You can choose something different. You can choose to be a different way in this world. And the world actually needs you to be you. It needs you to be the gift of you. The world, the way we're functioning right now, there's so much toxic energy in this world. There's so much hate. There's so much fear. There's so much anxiety that we're putting out in the world. And we think that's okay. And we don't think happiness is okay. But the world needs you to be you right now. And it needs me to be me right now. And nobody can be who I am. And nobody can be who you are. So let's start letting the world see who we are. And anything that brings up and lets down, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Leanne, this hit pretty hard. Yeah, it's a pretty humbling experience, and it's a conversation that it's not always easy to talk about, because it does require vulnerability and putting your barriers down and putting your walls down. And she said something in this video I was watching of hers, Brene Brown. She says, everything I've ever done that really made a contribution, I have felt alone in doing it, and afraid, but also alive. Alone, but alive. It's like being in the wilderness. And the first time that you go alone, the first time you pull away from what a group of people think, so your family, the community that you live in, your coworkers, whatever the group of people may be, the first time that you pull away and find power in standing alone. I love how she says this. Your heart is marked by the wild. I don't know why this is still making me so emotional, so bear with me. You belong in into the wilderness in a different way. Because every time after that, when you choose fitting in over choosing to belong to yourself, it's actually pretty painful. So once you are willing to let go of that rope, and you're willing to step into the unknown, and you're willing to be vulnerable, and you're willing to put your barriers down, and you're willing for people to judge you, and you're willing to look wrong, and you're willing to look arrogant, or you're willing to look however people are going to think that you may be, which is none of my business. But when you do that, when you slingshot yourself over that wall, past that wall of normal mediocrity, when you step into the unknown, there is no feeling of freedom like that. And once you choose that, there is no going back. Because when you choose, when you make decisions after that based on what everyone else thinks you should do, you see that you're not being you. You are just trying to fit in because it's more comfortable, even though it's not comfortable at all, because it's painful. It hurts you. So anything this brings up and lets down, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And part of that letting go of perfectionism, she goes on to talk about, is really believing in your self-worth. And she says, stop walking through the world looking for evidence that you're not enough, because you will always find it. It's the whole law of attraction. Energy flows where your attention goes. And if you are looking for evidence that you're not enough, you're always going to find evidence that you're not enough. And so she did a study on a bunch of people, and she did a study on the sense of worthiness. And they have a strong sense of love and belonging, and people who struggle for it worry if they're good enough. And there's only one variable that she found that separated the people who have a strong sense of love and belonging and those who struggle for it. And the people that have a strong sense of love and belonging believe they're worthy of that love and belonging. They believe that they're worthy. And she looked at what those people all had in common from her research, and what she found is that they all had a sense of courage. And so the definition of courage is to tell the story of who you are with your whole heart. These people all had the courage to be imperfect. They had the compassion to be kind to themselves first, and then to others. And they had a connection because they had authenticity. They were willing to let go of who they thought they should be in order to be who they were, which you have to have for connection. And finally, they embraced vulnerability. They believed that what made them vulnerable made them beautiful. They didn't talk about vulnerability being comfortable, nor did they talk about it being excruciating. They just talked about it being necessary. They talked about the willingness to say that I love you first, the willingness to do something where there are no guarantees, the willingness to breathe through while waiting for the doctor to call after your mammogram, the willingness to invest in relationships that may or may not work. They thought that this was fundamental, and that takes a great deal of courage and vulnerability. So how do we honor vulnerability? We practice gratitude. We stop and we be grateful for what we have. To practice gratitude, to practice what's ordinary about our lives, because that's what's truly extraordinary. To be grateful for our kids, our family, for play, for adventure, for our community, for nature. These are the things that happen every single day that we're so busy being afraid that we're missing out on these things. Be grateful for what you have, to have what is ordinary. And that was like very, very humbling for me to hear, because the perfectionist in me was like, it's like this facade, like of looking a certain way, to have this extravagant life. Like I had all these pictures in my head of what was going to happen, like who I could be, and, like that, what I have right in front of me, like always thinking you're searching for something else, something greater, something bigger. And it's like, no, everything is actually right in front of you, but we're too busy trying to look a certain way. We're too busy having our walls up to perfectionism that we don't actually see what's right in front of us. And so focusing on those things that we're grateful for. When you're grateful, the universe will give you more things to be grateful for. So anything this is bringing up and letting down, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, walk, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And I just want to say a couple of clearings, a couple questions just to leave you with, to ponder with. Access consciousness questions is, First of all, asking you to put your barriers down and expanding into the space of infinite being, beyond who you think you should be, beyond right and wrong, beyond good or bad, beyond real or true. If I was being vulnerable with me today, what would I choose? And anything that brings up times a gazillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And truth, what are you camouflaging by always needing to be wrong? And everything that is, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. What are you camouflaging with putting everyone else's stuff first? Are you choosing? And everything that brings up times a gazillion, I now destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. What energy, space, consciousness, and choice can you and your body be to be the infinite vulnerability and infinite potency of you that we truly be, with total ease and joy and glory? And anything that doesn't allow that to show up as if by magic, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. So would you be willing to go forward fearlessly? Would you be willing to let go of the rope? Would you be willing to be that open, raw wound and be willing to receive everything with no point of view? Would you be willing to be the stupid girl or stupid boy you truly be for all eternity? Would you be willing to be teachable? Would you be willing for people to really get to know you and really get to see you and be the gift that you truly be? And the contribution that you can be to the whole world by letting go of that need to be a perfectionist. And it is a practice, and all it takes is baby steps. You don't have to do it overnight. You don't have to die over it. That's one thing I have found, is that I have not died by being me. And it does take practice, and the first time it might feel as scary as hell. It might feel scary to be you. It's a practice. But once you experience the freedom in that, and the expansiveness, and the joy, and the ease, and the joy, and the glory, once you experience that, there is no turning back. So would you be willing to be vulnerable enough to be you today? And I will leave you with one thing you could do to practice this today, is when something comes up in your world that you want to hide yourself, that you want to cover yourself up with, that you want to look right and not be wrong, do the opposite of what you would normally do. Take that, what you would normally do in this situation, do the opposite. That's probably one of the easiest ways to start practicing, to get over this need to be perfect and to be willing to be vulnerable, is do the opposite of what you would normally do and see what awareness comes your way from it. And let us know. And let us know. And just keep being you. Never give up. Never give in. Let go of that rope. And wherever you are finding the most discomfort with all of this, any of this conversation, anywhere that you have felt yourself resisting and your walls have gone up, what I ask you to do is lean into that, because the obstacle is the way. So lean in, my friends. And thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you all on here another time, another place. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.